ask them to unmute.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. So everyone, as you may have just seen, you had a notice on the front of your screen through Zoom reminding you that this video is being recorded. It is publicly available on our website, www.jeffreyspoint.org, and it is publicly hosted through YouTube. If you do not wish to participate in the recording for any reason or in any way, that is okay. If you wish to keep your camera off, if you wish to change your name as it appears on the Zoom camera, and also if you do not wish to have your voice recorded, you can submit questions through the chat. We are simply glad to have you here this evening. My name is Margaret Farmer, and I am co-chair of the Jeffreys Point Neighborhood Association. Susan?
Hi, I'm Susan Huang. I am the vice chair. Andrew?
I'm Andrew Pike. I am the treasurer.
I'm Josh Schmidt. I'm the secretary.
Excellent. And can we ask the person whose phone number ends in 0153 to please unmute and let us know who you are so we can have an accurate count of attendance?
If you'd like to.
If you'd like to. Again, if you do not wish to be counted as attending, that is totally fine.
Looks like they're trying to unmute. Hold on a second. There
Hi,
you go.
this is it's Ann Belmonte, 221 Everett Street, Apartment 2, East Boston.
Thank you.
Hi, Ann. Thank you so
You're
much
welcome.
for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
I'd like to take a moment to recognize, I see a few people that are here who are representing some of our elected officials. I see, let's see, Claire Brooks from Michael Flaherty's office. I saw someone, Gloria Bell Rivas from Rep. Adrian Madaro's office is here. Does anyone see anybody else? I don't want to miss anybody. Okay, that's okay. If we do have anyone join, we are certainly happy to recognize them as they enter this evening. So we will start this evening with a few announcements. Again, thank you all for joining us. This Saturday, October 15th, sorry, my thing is moving here and I got to catch it. This Saturday, October 15th, from an 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. in Brophy Park here in Jeffreys Point, there is going to be a free costume swap. Bring a costume or accessories to trade with others. This is a great way to get a costume for your child or yourself that you do not have to go out and buy. We encourage everyone to participate and help us reduce, reuse, recycle. For additional information, please check Facebook. We'd like to say thank you to Allison Debe and Aaron Lay. I'm sorry if I'm saying that incorrectly, for putting this together. Again, a costume swap this Saturday at Brophy Park. Costume bowling is back. This is a fundraiser for the Dante Alighieri School, and it is being held at Central Lanes on Sunday, October 23rd at 1 p.m. The cost is 10 p.m. and costumes are encouraged. This is a great annual event that had to go away for several years for the reason that does not need to be named. It is a great way to see neighbors, enjoy some bowling and some costuming. Also this month on Sunday, October 30th at 8:30 a.m., the BAA, the Boston Athletic Association, is hosting a neighborhood fitness series, which is presented by Boston's Children's Hospital. It is coming to East Boston Memorial Park with a 1 or 2 mile fitness run or walk. This is a free event open to adults and children and is meant to promote physical health. Please check the BAA website for more information and to register. And I do believe this is a timed race, as they did talk about having bibs be distributed. So if you're looking for a timed race, this is a great way to do it. I'd like to turn it over to our board member, Josh, for a moment, who's going to be making some announcements about Boston Blooms.
Okay, so as you know, a few weeks ago, we did the Love Your Block cleanup over at Brophy Park and also at the Golden Steps Terrace. So we're doing all of that to kind of prepare for being able to do some of these bulbs. Now, we were able to get 200 bulbs from the City of Boston Department of Rec. And so we're going to be able to get those. I'm thinking I'm going to go pick them up on November 3rd. So I'm thinking that Saturday or Sunday we'll come to Porzio Park, Brophy Park, and Golden Steps Terrace and be able to plant those. So we'll have a beautiful bouquet in spring. So I hope to see you all out there. I'll be creating an event on Facebook.
Okay, thank you very much, Josh. And thank you, by the way, for all of your work organizing the Boston Shines cleanup this fall. So thank you very much. Also, speaking of parks, this Friday, October 14th at 2 p.m. will be the ribbon cutting for the Piers Park Phase 2. It will be at Piers Park, and all are welcome. Now, for just a moment, I'd like to turn it over to Gabriela Ramirez. She's joining us from the Trustees of Reservations. She's going to give us some updates on Piers Park Phase 3. Gabriela?
Hi, can you hear me? Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. Nice to see everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. We appreciate everyone's feedback on the design of Piers Park 3. And we appreciate everyone that's come to our events this summer and fall at Piers Park. It's been really nice again to talk with neighbors. As always, we invite you all to continue sharing your feedback on the park to make sure that the park has the community's input. But I'm here to share with you all that we're hosting our next round of community meetings for Piers Park 3 in November. There's going to be 2 Zoom meetings, one in English and one in Spanish, taking place on Wednesday, November 2nd. The English meeting will take place at 6 p.m. and the Spanish one will take place at 7:15. We're also hosting 2 in-person open houses. We're really excited to also get to see you all in person. One will take place Thursday, November 10th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at the East Boston Public Library. And then the second one will be Saturday, November 12th from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Location to be determined. As soon as I have it, I'll post it on the Facebook group, and I'll be sure to let you all know. We hope you're able to join us at one of our open houses to let us know your thoughts on the latest design of Piers Park 3. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. I will put in the registration link. I will put in the chat the registration link and also my email. If you have any questions, you can reach out directly to me.
Okay, thank you so much, Gabriela. We really enjoy hearing about the updates on the planning for Piers Park Phase 3. And we're really glad that you come back to us and let everyone know that these meetings are going on. So thank you very much. And I wasn't speaking of change, but I should be, because we've recently had a change in the neighborhood, and we're very excited to be joined by Javi Carabello, who hopefully I said that correctly, who is the owner and manager of Eastie CrossFit. They have recently had a location change, and we are ecstatic that they have been able to find a space to stay here in the community. So I will let Javi take it away and talk about this great news, but we are thrilled that you are still here.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the support. It's been more than 10 years when I was here for the first time presenting our project. So I appreciate Margaret and the rest of the board to this opportunity, right? So it's been quite a journey, right? But we're almost done with this transformation from 1 Everett Street to the shipyard. We're going to be located right next to Seabiscuit, right? And as we have developed our program and get to know more our East Boston community, right? We have changed a couple of things from where we started. We are still a CrossFit gym as a affiliation. But we have also understood the needs of our community, right? And I am a community member too. So I put myself in there as a 41-year-old dad and husband and business owner, right? It's not the same as we were training when we were 25 and 30, right? If you see like on the screen, you see this bicycle, and that's really what we have transformed our offering to, right? So if you have a bicycle, you had a bicycle, right? And you have your front flat tire and the rest of the bicycle is good, it's not going to take you really far. Or if both tires are good but the chain doesn't work, right? You're not going to very far either, right? So this is just a visual of like, you have to be able to train, you have to be able to eat, and you have to be able to sleep to some sort of functional way, so that way you can live an active life and abundant life, and be your best, reach for your best life, right? So we do take care of our eating habits, our sleeping habits, and our training habits, right? And the idea, we have this fancy machine in the gym where you can stand on it and it will tell you your body composition, right? And that's how we can customize and personalize your experience within our class and 12 athlete group training, right? So if you can scroll over to the next one, you can see the schedule. You can also see my awesome wife, right? Showing some training modality, right? But what I wanted to highlight is like the programs that we're offering right now. So we've always offered adult group classes. That's been our bread and butter since 2014, right? But we just added a youth wellness program for teens, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th graders, right? And we are practicing the same eat, train, and sleep habits that adults were using, but we also like giving them some social emotional skills, right? So they can overcome the stresses of being in middle school and early high school age, right? We're also soon to launch a women wellness program, right? I highlighted Sandy, my wife, here because she is the expert, right? And the idea is to make sure that our pelvic floor is strong, and that goes for men and women. But specifically for the women, it's like preparing for pregnancy, you know, having a healthy pregnancy, and also recovering from the miracle, right? Everyone is like, oh yeah, you had a baby, but not a lot of people know like the hard work that the woman has to go through to recover, right? So I just wanted to kind of like highlight, give you guys know, because a lot of things have changed in the last 10 plus years. Just like Margaret is saying, it is very, very good to be still in the neighborhood, right? And there's a schedule of our adult classes, right? And if you scan that QR code, you'll be able to access a free call with one of our coaches to know more about our programs.
Okay, that is great. Javi, I knew it had been a while. I hadn't realized it's 10 years, really?
Yeah. So the business was formed in 2013. We didn't open, and that's the first time that I went and presented the project, and the project took about a year for us to be able to open and become begin the operations.
Okay, that's great. By the way, I loved that picture of Ryan, by the way. That was Ryan, our neighbor. He lives on Seaver Street in that first picture, by the way. So
I might have put it there on purpose.
Maybe a little bit. Andrew's
Yeah,
laughing.
He's not a huge fan of that picture.
And yet he was wearing the t-shirt, so he clearly knew what was going to happen. To me, that was the best part. I'm like, he's wearing the t-shirt, man. Anyway, sorry to go off on a tangent, but Javi, thank you very much. It's great to see, you know, we love small businesses here. We love small local businesses. So we are thrilled that you are still doing well, and thrilled to learn more about how things are going. So don't be a stranger, man. Don't wait 10 years to come back again.
No, I won't. I'm always in Jeffrey's Point.
Yeah, that is very true. That is very true. Well, our holiday event is coming up in December. You're welcome to come there too. So
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So I have one last announcement, and then we will move into our more formal agenda. And this is just a reminder that coming up in just a few weeks, on November 8th, Tuesday, which is the first Tuesday of the month, is the election. I know we had here in Boston, we had the primary, and that did decide a few races, but there are still a number of races up for grabs, and that includes attorney general and governor. You know, you may think, just a reminder that you want to go to your regular poll that you would go to for the presidential election, and polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So if you are not sure if you are registered to vote, please check the Attorney General's website, as you can verify your voting status and also verify where you can vote. Just a reminder that here in Boston, a city council at large seat was decided just a few years ago by one vote. One vote. So if two people had stayed home that day, we would have a different looking city council. So your vote is important. Your voice is important. People who disagree with you, they're going to vote. So if you want something, make sure you get out and vote. So preaching over, but we will have an election before our next, meeting. Some final housekeeping rules, just as a reminder that we are using e-ballot to manage the voting process for the project that is being presented this evening. To be eligible to vote, you must be, number one, present at this meeting. If people who do not attend this meeting are not eligible to vote. And then you must be either an abutter of the project, meaning you live within a 300-foot radius of the project address, and are a resident within the JPNA boundaries and have attended one prior meeting in the past 3 months. So you are here at this meeting and have attended once in the past 3 months, or are at this meeting and an abutter. And we will have a few reminders about the timing of voting at the end of the meeting, but I do want to move on as it is 7:19. I do not see the police this evening. Does anyone else? Sometimes they're simply not available. So as I do not see them, we are going to call on Nathalia Benitez-Perez, who is our mayor's representative here this evening, and see if she has any announcements. And I am very excited to see that she is at home and not at the office where she normally talks to us from at 7:30 on a random Monday. So
thank you, everyone. Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me. I do have some updates for this evening. Let me pull my notes. All right, so we are really excited to announce that we have a new ZBA board member. It still remains that they need to be ratified by the city council, but we are hopeful that we will be able to start soon and positively impacting our neighborhood. Also, graffiti busters. More than 400 cases of graffiti that were reported through 311 were closed during the summer as of today. So this is just a friendly reminder that if you see graffiti, contact 311 and report it. They do get taken care of. With that said, we have launched a new Boston 311 app, which is now available for download. It now lets users to service requests in 11 languages. So this is a huge step forward in our administration to be able to have equity, right? Also, the BPDA is hosting a Plan East Boston Neighborhood Residential Workshop. I am going to leave the Zoom meeting for this on the chat. Give me 1 second. All right, and this is set to take place. Jesus, let me set the calendar. I believe, yeah, the 19th of this month at 6 p.m. I encourage people to go, residents to go and participate. This is a neighborhood-wide planning initiative that, when completed, will update the neighborhood zoning, establish neighborhood design guidelines, and propose new capital improvements to public space, including near and long-term improvements to the neighborhood transportation network. So it is in our best interest to attend, be informed, and also provide the feedback that we want to see in our neighborhood. And that's it. So if anybody has a question, I would love to answer.
Actually, Nathalia, people are welcome to submit questions through the chat. And I have two quick things while people are writing them in the chat. Number one, if you have previously downloaded the 311 app, do you need to download the new app, or will it automatically update?
It will update. You might have to log in again.
Okay.
It would probably kick you out when you have to log in again, but it should do it by itself.
Okay, that's very helpful. Personally, I really like the 311 app. It can get frustrating when they close things and you don't know what happened, but it is a great way to report a lot of issues and ask a lot of questions. And the second thing was to let people know that Plan East Boston actually had contacted the JPNA a month or two ago to ask to be on the November agenda. So they will be coming with an update in November. We are in the tail end of the planning process with them. So, I mean, this process started a year before the pandemic started, so it has been going on for some time, but it is not too late to make your voice heard and let the city know how you want to see the future of East Boston. So please do get in touch with Plan East Boston and attend the meeting. And if you can't attend the meeting, please contact the people who are running Plan East Boston. And one of those is Jay Ruggiero, who, if you need help getting in touch with him, email the board at board@jeffreyspoint.org, and we are happy to help you. Okay. Did we have any questions come in through the chat, Andrew?
There is something here. Oh yeah, this happens frequently, actually. This person just stated that there's graffiti at 1 Everett Street. It was reported and it said something about they needed to talk to the landlord. It's been over 6 months that it's been like that.
Okay, I'll take a look. I'll take a look. Usually, so the graffiti busters, they work only during the summertime. So if they get reported before they start working, they'll get through it. If not, usually it carries over to the next year. But I'm not sure if it's on a private property, public property. I'll take a walk around and I'll figure that out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We did also have 2 new people joined by the phone. So if your phone number ends in 3490, you're welcome to unmute yourself right now and let us know who you are, if you'd like to. Give you a moment to do that. Again, that was 3490. There's also one ending in 8811 if you want to beat 3490 to the punch. You don't have to tell us. I'm just giving you the opportunity. Okay, looks like we're good to go.
Just a reminder that if you're on the phone and you're in a butter, it may be harder for us to call on you. So if you are in a butter to a project and wish to speak out loud, because as a reminder, abutters who have registered more than 24 hours in advance are then cleared to talk out loud, and others are asked to submit their questions to the chat, which you don't have access to because you're on the phone. So if there's a way, if you could let us know if you're in a butter and you'd like to speak, that we would appreciate, but you're totally fine.
And just I know Margaret just mentioned, but just a reminder that after the presentation starts, at any point during the presentation, if you have a question, you are welcome to enter it into the chat at that time. We will get to as many of the questions as we possibly can. We will begin with abutters who registered 24 hours in advance, and I will read those names once the presentation has completed.
Absolutely. Okay. So thank you very much, Nathalia. We appreciate you being here and we appreciate your time. Next on the agenda, we did have a city councilor at large, Erin Murphy. Her office did let us know that she may be running late tonight, which we totally understand. So we are, I do see the developer here, so we are going to move forward on the agenda. And then if Erin joins us, we will move back. So we're going to move on to 130 Marginal Street. There will be a vote on this project after this particular meeting. A reminder, the voting is done online through e-ballot. And at the end of the meeting, we will review that process. This has presented previously at 3 Jeffreys Point Neighborhood Association planning and zoning meetings. Those are the 3rd Wednesday of the month. And as a reminder, the planning and zoning meeting is where the kind of nitty-gritty with the developer, where we get deep into the project, ask a lot of questions, and where direct abutters have the opportunity to express their either happiness or unhappiness with particular aspects of the project. That's where the negotiation aspect happens. This is a presentation and asked to clarify the presentation itself so that we are educated enough to make a vote on the project itself. The proposal here is to erect a new 4-story, 4-family dwelling that a size of approximately 5,450 square feet. The developer is Noel DiCarlo, who I do see here this evening, and it is represented this evening by Drago and Toscano Law Associates. So I will turn it over. And again, this is 130 Marginal Street, and I will turn it over to the team.
Great. Thanks, Margaret. And thanks everyone for having us back. As Margaret had mentioned, my name is Jeff Drago, the attorney for the applicant, Noel DiCarlo, who's the developer. And my office, Drago and Toscano LLP, has represented Noel in the past on a number of projects. We also have Adam Glassman, who's the architect, that's here to answer any questions after we get through the presentation. As was mentioned, this is a proposal at 130 Marginal Street. It's the building in this rendering, the whitish building next to the blue building. It is an empty parcel right now. My client also purchased 132 Marginal Street. Just to be clear, that building will remain its setback. We'll show you in a few minutes on some site pictures, and we will maintain the landscaping in front as it is. We'll show you some landscaping pictures as well. Just quickly, as Margaret had mentioned, we've had a number of meetings with the Jeffreys Point Neighborhood Association Zoning Subcommittee. We've also had a number of abutter meetings with all of our abutters, as well as individual meetings to get to the project that you see tonight that we're presenting. Just a number of changes I wanted to highlight that we went through on this project as we went through the process. One was based on our neighbors to the right. We removed the side decks of this project and have committed in writing to not put any back down the road. This is a rental building, so the developers will own this, proposed rental building would own this and manage the building as part of their portfolio. We shifted the building forward based on recommendations, so it's modal to the other buildings in the block. We increased our rear setback significantly to 35 feet 1 inch. For this particular area, the rear setback requirement is 30 feet, so we are well over that. We reduced the size of the rear decks, and we also committed, based on our rear neighbors, to make those decks out of a non-combustible material and to include a sprinkler system as well. And all of this was worked out in the zoning subcommittee meetings as well as the abutter meetings. We developed landscape plans, which we will show you for 130 Marginal as well as 132 Marginal Street. And then more recently, we created a left side setback to give additional space to our left abutter for 2 feet 6 inches. 2.5 feet is what's required, so we now meet that side setback. We also flipped the 4th floor. Before we had living space next to this adjacent left building. We flipped that, so now those windows look at patios, outdoor space, those decks that are there now, just to give, so they're not looking at an obstructed view out their window. That is just a summary of the changes. If you could go to the next slide, please. The proposal now is we're seeking to erect a new 4-story residential dwelling. So this building would include 4 units. There's no basement, it's slab on grade, with 3 interior parking spaces that are accessed through a garage and would maintain the 1st floor of the building. The abutting property to our left is also a 4-story building. And as I had mentioned, the property at 132 Marginal Street will remain and undergo renovations. That will stay the same. This particular zoning sub-district is a 3F 2000. Our lot, it is an empty lot now, is 2,813 square feet. Next slide, please. This is just the BPDA map zoning viewer. It just shows you the highlighted area in pink is our lot. That's the contours of the lot. And it shows you this particular zoning district is a 3F 2000. Next slide, please. This is our zoning analysis. So just quickly to go over, this project would require zoning relief if we do move forward for the following violations. So it's a 3F district. We are proposing 4 units, so that would be a requirement for a variance for use. Additional lot area, we would have to have 1,000 square feet, and we have slightly under at 813. FAR, what's allowable is 1.0. We're at 1.94. We did try to maintain the lowest possible height, but still have enough ceiling room, floor to ceiling. But by not putting a basement in, we were still able to get parking in the 1st floor. We are at 4 stories, but we're proposing 36 feet 9 inches. What's allowable is 35 feet, so we would need a height variance. Open space requirement is 300 square feet per dwelling unit. We have 1,125 square feet total, so would require that. We now meet the side setback on the left side. We would still require a setback on the right side variance, but that is our property and it's still all open space that we'll maintain. And parking, even though we have 3 spaces, 6 would be required. Next slide, please. This is just an aerial view, just so you can see surrounding buildings, and the red dot is where our lot is. Next slide, please. And these are just some site pictures. So this is looking down Marginal. Our lot is next to the existing building, just so you can see it. And this is looking the other way. For height context, the building next to us, the 4-story building, we're beyond that. Next slide, please. And that's a shot straight ahead. So you can see 132 is the existing building to the right of us. That building would be maintained, and all of that open space. We have a whole landscape design, which we'll show you. That would be maintained. The lot is the lot with the curb cut and the hot top now that we're proposing. So that would be where the development would lie. Next slide, please. And so this is one of our landscape plans, just so you can see an aerial view. So 130 and 132 both would have landscape. The one on the right actually has a walking path that obviously would remain. We're not touching that, but all new pavers, benches, sitting area, and greenery from the front and the back. Next slide, please. And this is just a better highlight of both of those front and rear gardens. So the rear garden of 130 Marginal, and then the front garden for 132. Next slide, please. And then this is the front landscape plan for 132. You can see pavers, the green space, benches, sitting area. And even though this is not part of the project we're seeking for zoning relief, we worked with our neighbors to come up with this landscape plan with them. Next slide, please. And this is just another front rendering. So you can see the garage access through the curb cut, and then the front main entrance of the building. You can see the 3 exterior decks in this design as well. Next slide, please. And now we're just getting into the site plan and floor plan. So this is just the site plan. I'll just show you, we'll show you the depth of the building on the left. Next slide, please. And these are the floor plans. So this is the first floor. It houses our main entrance, 3 parking spaces, as you can see. Turnaround area for those parking spaces, bike parking for the building, and a trash area where the trash receptacles would be kept inside. Next slide, please. Now we go up to the second floor that houses the studio unit. So there is 1 studio unit at 400 square feet, and that has a deck. Unit 2 is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 936 square foot. Those are both housed on the second floor. Next slide, please. Then we go up to the third floor. That's a larger 3-bedroom, 2-bath unit. It has decks on the front and back of the property, and that's 1,281 square feet. Next slide. And then we go up to the 4th floor, the final floor. That's a 1,404 square foot, 2-bedroom, 2-bath with an office with front and rear decks on that unit as well. Next slide, please. Now we just get into the front elevations of the building, just so you can see in context. So as you can see here, that's our building. I had already gone over the building height. Next slide, please. This is our rear elevation. So just so folks can see, these are our egress stairs off the rear porches as well. So those would serve as some rear deck space for those units, but also second means of egress. Next slide. And this is just our left and front elevation. So you can see the pretty significant grade change as you go in the back of the property as well. And this is just on the left, looking at the building on the left and right side. Next slide, please. And this is just a sectional that Adam had put together just to show how all of the units are laid out. You can see the parking on the ground level. You can see the decks in the back, and then interior staircase, and also where the units lie. Unit 1, 2, 3, and 4 throughout the building. Next slide, please. And these are just different perspectives. So looking at the building from the front as compared to same height as the building to the left of us, a front rendering of that as well, and then the rear as it pertains to the building that we own at 132, side by side in the back. Next slide, please. And then again, these are just left elevations of 132 Marginal Street as well. So this is what our building would look like sort of as it stands next to the building on the right of us at 132 Marginal. Next slide, please. And again, this is just a rear view of what the building looks like now on the top, and then with our building that we're building next to it in the bottom slide or bottom rendering that you can see now. Next slide. And that would conclude our presentation, and we can answer any questions that folks have. Thank you.
Okay, so I will go ahead and read the names of the people who are considered abutters within the 300-foot radius that have registered with us at least 24 hours in advance. And I am going to apologize now in advance, just in case I butcher your name. Edward Cincarelli, Jamie Wallers, John Vitale, Kim Vitale, Mary Grace Garvales Vesta, Jay Woodstock, Garrett Colson, Caitlin, I don't know how to say your last name, Andreakas, Mark Wallers, Thomas Garvey, Carl Swanson, Michael Dwyer, Margaret Henson, Al Gambali, Rosa Walden, Ethan Hill, and James Levins. So if I read your name, that means that you can speak aloud during this meeting and ask questions or make comments. We would like people to use the raise hand feature so that we can try and keep it orderly. So if you would like to raise your hand, we will get to the questions in the chat after that, if there are any, which there are. I don't see, oh, James Levins, if you'd like to go ahead and unmute yourself, you may speak.
Hi, I'm James Levins. I live in the blue building next door to this, which is 126 Marginal Street. I guess the only real concern I would have is, are you going to keep that easement path up? Because my son, probably in a few years from now, I'm trying to get him to go to Samuel Adams School. And it'd be nice to still have that path that goes from Marginal Street up to Webster Street for him to go to school. So are they going to keep that, or is that going to be anyway?
Oh, that is, yes, that will remain. We're not touching these.
That's actually a public way, so that you can't change it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else wanting to raise their hand? There was a lot of people registered. Let me, well, if you, oh, sorry, go ahead. I did see the hand there. Go ahead.
Hey everyone, I'm Caitlin. It's good to see you here. I had a couple questions. Can you for 132, what is the current plan?
So it's just to renovate and leave that building existing.
All right.
Yeah.
Is that a single family or a multi-family, just out of curiosity?
Noel, do you want to talk a little bit about what's on that?
Yes, it's an existing multifamily. We're not going to change the use. We're not going to change anything. We're just going to renovate the interior, take out some of that ugly vinyl siding and just spruce it up.
Fantastic. And right now, are there people living in it or not?
I don't believe so. I don't, but I'm not 100% sure. Just because I know it was said otherwise, but we don't own quite yet.
Okay.
So I'm not sure.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
And then also you, Noel, mentioned last time that you're going to be living in the new development. Is that correct?
No, the plan is for rentals with the hope that, one day. But no, I'm not gonna, not immediately. I have to recoup some costs first.
All right, thank you. That's helpful to know. So my biggest concern, first of all, I love this neighborhood. It's wonderful. And there have been several projects that I haven't had issue with, but I'm getting more and more concerned about the parking situation. Recently, like my grandmother was in hospice. I can't take the T to go see her. I'd be with her. I'd get home late at night. And I'm walking like 5, 6, 7 blocks. The neighborhood is wonderful. I love it. During the day, parking can be fine. But between the new construction that's happening at the corner of Hayes and Marginal, and then you have this building, and I didn't realize the 132 will also be adding 3 units. And that are currently 3 more people.
No, we're not changing 132. So whatever's there is, yeah.
So
But
no
it's
one lives
it's
there
vacant
now.
at the moment, I think is her point.
Yes, thank you, Andrew. It's going to put me in a situation where I really there's really limited options as far as safely getting home at night if it's not T accessible. I've looked into doing Zipcar. If I go see my grandma for the weekend using Zipcar, it's $250 to take it for 2.5 days if I leave Friday and come back Sunday. So those are my biggest concerns. I know that parking's a big issue for a lot of people in the area. I don't know if being open to something like the parking spaces being like a nightly rental for people in the neighborhood that could bring a lot in, as far as bringing more value to the neighborhood. So those were kind of, I think, yeah, I don't know if you have any thoughts.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never considered that. The way we tried to do parking is we initially added 1 space per unit. I mean, it's interesting because some people are like, don't add parking at all because you don't want to encourage cars. And some other, neighborhood members are like, no, you should have 2 parkings for every space. There's not any happy medium. So, but then we ended up shortening the building in response to the rear abutters and worked with them on that. So now we're down to 3 spaces, but there is 1 studio apartment. So our view was that at least the larger units would each have a parking space. And the studio is really intended for a commuter, who would use public transportation. But certainly I'm open to if one of the tenants aren't utilizing the space to have it open to the neighborhood. I mean, I have happy to do that. If someone doesn't have cars.
Yeah. And one thing, obviously, a lot of times with condos, folks are buying units and they expect to have a space. With rentals, it does give the owner, developer, the ability to say, you're not getting a space, or, we would encourage not having a car. One of the other things we did too is we purposely put a bike room in on this project as well to try to encourage other modes of transportation. Obviously, that doesn't solve all the problem of parking, but and then thirdly, these are full-size functioning spaces with enough turn radius. A lot of times you'll see projects, I represent a number of developers, but they'll put in a number of compact or smaller spaces or tandem spaces that really they could be blocked, and they're not really functional spaces. This does have full spaces that have a turn radius to get in and out, so they would be utilized by the folks that were renting the building.
I believe that we had
with the spaces.
I'm sorry. I believe that we had asked at a P&Z meeting about the parking and whether the parking would be included in the rent for tenants. And I believe the answer was yes, correct?
Yes.
Correct. But if a tenant doesn't have a car, I'm certain, I never thought of offering it to the neighborhood, but I'm certainly open to that. I'm not opposed to that at all.
Okay.
I think that for me to support the project, it would have to more be a commitment that we would have for all 3 spots, individuals who wanted to rent it nightly instead of all the time. That would really solve that. That would be something that would make me want to support the project. But currently, adding this project's going to add several cars to the street, between taking away 2 parking spots for the other house that currently would be using it, and then adding in the new tenants. That's 5 extra spots. If I think about having to go past 5 spots at night, that's a lot that's a lot to ask for all of the neighbors.
Yeah, so I think though we'd have to be very careful because at some point you're then crossing a line where you're running a parking facility.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, so we couldn't be running a nightly parking lot out of there. That wouldn't be allowed by the city. And certainly that, this is a small building, it could actually open all the doors to all kinds of liabilities. I think that if there was an open spot, the developer owner would definitely be willing to say if there's a direct neighbor or someone that could benefit from that spot, would be happy to give that back or talk to that person. But I think to run nightly parking would be a problem.
Yeah, like I said, I'm a single woman walking home alone at night, and it creates a dangerous situation. So if there's something else you can think of that would help mitigate the number of cars on the street, I would be very interested.
Sure. I think we're trying that with bike parking, and I think we'd be happy to do some kind of a T-Pass supplement to residents of the building as well. So we've done that in the past where the developer will commit to, 6 months of a T-Pass. I think we'd be happy to go on the record to do something like that as well.
When you say 6 months of a T-Pass, can you tell me more about what that means?
Right, so it's just, as an incentive to not park there and start using the T, a developer will supplement in the rent, and not charge the new tenants for a certain period of time for T-Passes.
And that would come with, like, the person would not be allowed to register a car at that address?
That's tricky because we could sit here and tell you that we're going to say that you cannot have a resident sticker to park there, but BTD will tell you that can't be held up in court. So that there's really,
I think what's the, how much are you thinking to rent the 1 bedroom that you're saying wouldn't have, or the studio that wouldn't have parking?
It's too early for me to do rent projections. I mean, we're talking maybe 2+ years out. So I have no idea at this stage.
My guess, given how nice everything looks, it'll be quite expensive. If we're talking about, there are few people I know moving into new construction that don't have a car like I do for visiting grandma, visiting mom and dad, even if I commute with the T. All right, I think those are my questions. I don't know if anyone else on the call had questions.
Are there any other abutters that I listed? Oh, go ahead. You guys, yeah, go ahead.
Hi, just 1 minute of your time. I just wanted to say, maybe this is a good place to say, maybe everybody could support the residents around here on Marginal Street, and I know they live on Cottage. We would like to get resident parking from 6 p.m. till the morning so that we could come home and park. It is impossible to park around here. You do have to sometimes park near the Assumption Church. It's been really tough, especially with the new development. Lots of people, I guess, are not using those parking lots and they park on the street. So,
The ship.
yeah, and with the tall ship down here, it's been really so difficult. You don't even want to go out and move your car. But maybe this is a good place so that we can drum up some community support to help us get the resident parking on the street. It would be really, really helpful, I think, for us.
Kim, that's something that I have been pushing for myself for as long as I've lived here. And it's one of those things, I've been talking to every elected official, every city councilor, every mayor's liaison about the same exact thing, and nothing seems to change. So I think we need more and more people to contact those elected officials and let them know that this is what we want in the neighborhood, because I want the same thing. And it makes no sense to have parking restrictions during the day and nothing at night.
Right, and we've always heard the same thing. Oh, we can't do that because it's Pierce Park. That's the reason we need it too.
Yeah.
And, our wish would have been with the expansion that they put in 100 more parking spaces at the park instead of 40. But
There's a meeting on October 19th if you're interested. But I was going to say there is a process to follow for getting resident parking. And I don't want to talk about it here just because I know that other people want to ask questions, but John and Kim, I'm happy to talk to you about what that process is and how to implement it, because it is based upon getting enough signatures from the people who live on that part of the street and turning that over to the city to say, this is what we want. And if they see a majority of residents, they will make that change.
Okay, we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And if you want to loop me in, I'd be happy to help.
Okay.
It's going to take a couple people, so that's good.
We do have another abutter that would like to speak. Let me just double check my list here.
Excellent.
All right. I didn't think I saw him on the list. Never mind. Apologies. I do have some just to answer this question so I can move on to the chat. Robert Honan, I understand that you may be an abutter, but unfortunately we do ask abutters to register 24 hours in advance of the meeting. Did you? Sorry, I'm trying to, no, you did not. So unfortunately, if you'd like to put your questions in the chat, I'll be happy to answer them or have the presenters answer. But I'm going to move on to the questions in the chat at the moment. The first one that we received was basically about the designs, just stating terrible design does not fit in with the rest of the neighborhood. They're also asking whether the architect has ever visited the site. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, the architect here, Adam, you want to talk about that?
I have been to the site.
Okay. And I already.
And I think just, sorry, Andrew, but just to point out, I mean, this is, we've sort of worked on design as we've gone through the process.
Yes.
We're also going to have to, if we were to be approved for a project, meet with the BPDA design review team. They'll put that on as a proviso. So it may change and they may ask us to do different treatments. I mean, this we felt like in working with the neighbors, this was a design that folks did like, but we'd be happy to, if we have to, make changes to some of the exterior.
Okay, this person's asking if there's any way to enclose the back stairs. I'm not sure why.
Well, what we have off the back of the building are decks. So the answer is no.
Right, and then that would become, if we started to enclose the decks, that would become livable space and rooms back there. So I think just given having our setback with just egress stairs for our neighbors in the rears, I think if we started to enclose, that would be something that they would want to see. So.
Okay, any other questions in the chat?
There is not.
Okay.
Yes, there is. I have a question.
Robert,
Yes.
Andrew, is Robert on the abutters list?
He is not.
I am a director, but this is my first meeting. I did
Okay,
not
sir,
know I had to
unfortunately,
sign
I'm
up.
sorry, sir. I'm sorry. We have to follow the guidelines and the rules of the meeting. I'm sorry that this is your first meeting, but this is the rule of the meeting and we have to follow it.
And we're happy to have you submit your questions and comments through the chat. We are happy to address them. But in order to have a direct abutter speak, we ask them to register 24 hours in advance so we can confirm that they're abutters. We've had numerous abutters in the past, or people who say that they're abutters, and then they try to speak and we find out that they are, in some instances, not even people who live in the neighborhood. So that's why we do it.
We do have one other abutter who's raised their hand that was on the list. So go ahead, Tom.
I'm just wondering how we might go about having a referendum to change some of these rules, because it does seem like there's a very heavy hand laid on who can participate and who can vote. And I'm just not quite sure that's really the JPNA's authority. I'm just musing here about who is the board responsible to, and how do we get votes on the methods of these meetings? I'm just curious about that.
I can talk about that. Absolutely. So the JPNA, the rules are dictated through the bylaws bylaw changes can occur. That is a 3-meeting process. Someone says in a meeting, they make a formal motion to a formal request to have a motion about changing the bylaws. Then the next month we have the proposal. We ask the person who made the request to come forward with a formal proposal of exactly what changes they would like. Those are then presented to the neighborhood and given the chance to have an open discussion. That is actually open to everyone. Then in the 3rd month, then we actually have it as a vote. And the reason it is a 3-month process, and this is written in the bylaws, which you can read, which are available on our website at jeffreyspoint.org, is so that if people have strong opinions on those particular rules or that bylaw, they have the ability to become eligible to vote. So that's why it is a 3-month process. But you are welcome to do that. In regards to the
I did want to point out, Margaret, I don't mean to interrupt you. I did want to point out the last time we revised the bylaws, we actually increased the ability for people who are abutters to vote on projects. Previously, you used to have been to the meeting, one of the meetings within the past 3 months, et cetera. Now we allow people who are within the 300-foot radius to vote on projects, even if they hadn't been present at a previous meeting. So we've actually increased the ability for people to vote. So I don't know if you have a specific example as to something that's not working or that you'd like to mention, but we're all ears.
So you're really saying that the rules by which these Zoom meetings are run are in the bylaws of the JPNA?
So you asked about voting.
Yeah,
And
I thought you were
voting
talking about voting,
specifically is
Tom.
in the bylaws. In regards to running of the Zoom meetings, these rules were developed over time as we have had these meetings over Zoom. Because when we had it that anyone was available to speak, it became, the nice word will be raucous. There are a lot of other not nice words that I could use to describe. And it was incredibly off-putting to a large number of people in the community who said that they didn't want to come back if they felt like it was going to be a Thunderdome. And so we have worked, we've gone back and forth from having everyone speak to having no one speak and having things only submitted through the chat. We felt that it did not allow people who were abutters of projects to have enough space to say what they wanted. So we've expanded it to having to be abutters. If we receive enough feedback from people who have suggestions or have ideas that we can make a way to transfer, that we can make it different, we are happy to do that. I would like to point out that normally development projects are given approximately 15, maybe 20 minutes. And this one we've allowed to go on for 35 because it's the only development project this evening. And we wanted to see if our speaker who is coming this evening had the opportunity. Their schedule changed at the last minute and we wanted to give them enough time to see if they would be able to attend. So normally we would have cut off abutter comments and questions several minutes ago, like at least 10 under normal circumstances. But this is a large project. We had the time. It's important that people have a chance to express themselves, so we left it open.
Okay, well, here's one change.
All of the rules that we put in place for this meeting have been done, like Margaret said, over time in order to keep the meeting organized. And I understand where you're coming from, Tom, but if we were just allow everyone to randomly speak, it would be like Margaret said.
I didn't say that.
I know, but that's like, I mean, we're definitely open for suggestion. If you have like an idea that you want us to talk about as a board, we're more than happy to do that.
Well, here's one suggestion. I know of one abutter, Carl Swanson. An emergency took him away tonight, so he can't be at this meeting. He's been at previous meetings and he's been involved in this process. And I just understand now that I don't think he'll be able to vote.
That is a rule that's actually in our bylaw, which is not anything to do with our Zoom rules. Those are the bylaws of the organization. And if that is one of the requirements, is that you're present at the meeting where the final presentation is made.
So what's the reasoning behind that?
The reasoning behind that is that if you are not at this meeting, number one, we wouldn't know that we should send you a ballot, because if you're
registered, he's registered for the meeting.
Okay, but but literally anybody could register for the meeting if they're in a abutter then, and they wouldn't necessarily know what the project is. That's number one. That originally started because when we met in person, you had to show up to get a ballot. So part of it is about maintaining of who is qualified to vote and also keeping track of who should receive a ballot. Because by what you're saying is, like by what you just suggested, like probably like another 30 to 50 people would be eligible if we said, oh, if you had to attend one meeting in the previous 3 months and then register for this meeting and you
And
get
it
a
was
ballot.
also an abutter, who's a known abutter who's been in previous meetings.
Okay, but it would still, I mean, it could still potentially open up to 30 or 50 people who might have no idea what the
Oh,
project is.
come on, Margaret. No.
So Tom, if you know what, Tom, it is 8:03. Caitlin has very patiently had her hand up. We're gonna let her speak.
Right.
And then if our speaker is not here, we're gonna start to wrap up because we're starting to just kind of move on it, kind of just rehash everything at this point. Caitlin, go ahead.
Thank you. Like kind of to re-say in a little bit of a different light, I think that there is an interest from the community to be more involved and not knowing how to be involved. And if that's something like I'm an owner, I want to be here for a while. So if that is something, I'd love to kind of learn a little bit more about that to figure out something that doesn't create a circus, because I totally see how that could happen. But I also do know like there are some people who care about this project. Someone had a class that they had to be at, and just kind of having that conversation on how we can do that. So I just really appreciate you shedding more light to it and helping us know how we can be more involved. And then just the second thing is I would be very interested in figuring out like, hey, can we get street parking? And then I don't know if this doesn't pass this time, but when street parking is less of an issue in maybe 8 months, a year, I could be much more amenable to the project. Just kind of, if it's not that I dislike anyone who's putting the project or that I don't want it to be done, it's a safety getting home at night issue right now.
And I will say that there have been, so like 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, there was dramatic changes going on at the intersection of Orleans and Webster. There was like construction constantly, and that entire area was in flux. And what we've seen is that area has changed. You know, the end of Marginal where you live has always been the overflow parking. And now everybody, you know, it's like a wave that has flowed down that street. So I totally understand and believe you. You know, I've heard some real horror stories about people who've had to deal with people coming out of the ship and other things along that street. So, you know, maybe, you know, the JPNA would be happy to meet with you and would be happy to meet with some other abutters and talk about like, what are some of the strategies that we can take? And what are some of the things that we can ask the city to do to really deal with that? The JPNA considers ourselves guided by what you want, by what the people who are the residents of JPNA want. So it's not for me to go to the city and or any board member or the board as a whole to go to the city and say, you need to do something about Marginal Street. We need to hear from you saying to us, you and John and Kim saying, we live here and now we need you to step in and help us. And we are thrilled to do that. We're happy to do everything.
I feel that. You. Thank you.
But you know, I live on Webster Street. Who the hell am I to say what the parking should be on Marginal?
But I think something else that's important to point out is that, you know, the role of the JPNA is completely advisory. You know, our vote is not binding. It's basically a way for the neighborhood to make their voice heard to the ZBA. The best way for you to voice your opinion about a project is to actually attend the ZBA meeting. And you're able to do that. That is also held online.
How does one do that?
It's I think it's still held online. I don't know.
Yes, actually, they're going to be hybrid going forward. But they will be continue to be broadcast on Zoom. And actually, if you go to the Zoning Board of Appeal website, you can sign. Actually, this is a really great announcement. If you go to the Zoning Board of Appeal website for the city of Boston, you can sign up for alerts that they will email you twice a week, because they meet on Tuesday day and Thursday night. And they will tell you what the agenda is and what are the projects that are included. So, so you can have a listing in your inbox twice a week. So,
thank you.
And these meetings are open to the public. And I encourage everyone who's interested in a particular project to attend. What happens, this is actually a great time to review this really quickly, is that we will take a vote. The JPNA will then write a letter that says both the results of the vote and what some of the feedback from the community was, positive and negative. We have found that that's been very helpful to the ZBA. We then provide a copy of that letter to all of our elected officials. We provide it to our city councilors at large, our city councilor. We also send it to Adrian, even though he's at the state level, because he likes to know what's going on. So we provide that to them. And then we ask the mayor's liaison to support to support our position. And so then when the project becomes before the ZBA, the mayor's liaison will stand up and will say, the community voted this was their opinion. And then they will also state whether or not they support the project, and our city councilors at large and our city councilor will state whether or not they support the project. The public is also welcome to make statements, and it is the opinions of the butters which will hold the largest amount of weight. That they, if you go up and introduce yourself, you should say, I'm so-and-so, I live at such and such an address, I'm in a butter, and either I am for or against, because people both in support and against are welcome to speak and express very briefly why. And so then they are the ones who will make that determination. This is after a BPDA review, the Boston Planning and Development Association review, which may make some slight changes. And sometimes those slight changes do reflect some of the things that we have said in our letter. So like we'd issue the letter, it goes to the BPDA, they say something, then it goes to the ZBA. And also, if people would like more information on what these acronyms stand for and the relationship between these groups, we are also happy to provide more information as the board. We are here to help you access different city departments and what's going on.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much.
No problem. It is 8:10, and I am going to ask Thomas Mannion, who is from Erin Murphy's office. I'm being willing to bet that she is not available, and it is now 8:10, and we thought we were wrapping up early tonight around this time. So Tom, can you just confirm if she's available or not? I moved off my head.
He sent me a message, sorry.
Oh, he did? Okay, sorry.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, sorry. Unfortunately, Councilor Murphy is not going to be able to come on, and although she was looking much forward to it. She's on a redistricting hearing that running over time, so she's unfortunately not going to be here.
Okay, that is okay. We will schedule her for another meeting. We do appreciate you being here, Tom, to give us an update. We do appreciate that. A few final reminder announcements. Even though we have met here on Tuesday, you will still receive if you are eligible to receive a ballot, you will still receive it tomorrow, which is Wednesday, October 12th. You should receive it no later than 7 p.m. If you look in your inbox around 7 p.m. and you do not find a ballot and you believe that you are eligible, we ask you to check your spam box. I get at least, between 2 and 5 emails a month come in and say, I didn't get a ballot. We check our system and we are able to determine that it's in your spam box. So your spam mail. So we ask you to check there first. Voting will be completed by Friday, October 14th at 7 p.m. No late votes are accepted. I have missed that date. I have missed that time, and my votes have not been accepted. So it is a hard stop at that time. After that, we update the meeting minutes, and it is then forwarded, and then it does make it to our website, usually by the end of the following weekend. As a reminder, we do have a planning and zoning meeting this month. It will be a week from tomorrow, which is the 19th, and the agenda for that meeting will go out probably by the end of the day tomorrow as well. So if you see us twice in your email inbox, please do not be alarmed. It is for both the voting and for our JPNA agenda.
And just to be clear, the planning and zoning meeting is not the ZBA.
Yes. Planning and zoning is the meeting so the JPNA, the Jeffreys Point Neighborhood Association, has 2 meetings a month. The one that we're at here, which is our monthly meeting where all votes occur. There is no voting at the planning and zoning. Planning and zoning meetings are the 3rd Wednesday of the month, and they are meant to be really the negotiation between abutters and developers. That's where we get into the nitty gritty of what's the shadow study, how tall is your building compared to my building. That's where you really have conversations about what is the impact of this development going to be. And then when we come to the monthly meeting, we do a review of the project so everyone's aware of what it is, and then we go to a vote. Every planning and zoning meeting is open to everyone in the community. You do not have to be in a butter of a project to attend. You do not have to be on the same street as the project to attend. You can just be nosy and show up and express your opinion. You can show up because you have nothing better to do on a random third Wednesday of the month. We welcome you. It is open to the public. There's no reason to skip it and every reason to attend. They're a good time. Ask Ron Stoya. And thank you. The board laughed. The board laughed at that joke. Nobody else did, but they got it. But my point is that the planning and zoning meetings are open to everyone and you are always welcome to attend. We do have a number of people who attend because they're interested in learning more about development and about how development is affected by the community. On behalf of the Jeffreys Point Neighborhood Association, I'd like to thank everyone for attending this evening. We thank you for caring about the community. We know that there's a lot of other things that you could be doing that are a lot more fun. And that you have probably come home from work, but we are thrilled to spend this time with you and thank you very much. As always, we are available at board@jeffreyspoint.org as our email address, and our website is www.jeffreyspoint.org. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.